Hello and welcome to this second lesson about the monologues project we're doing for our lockdown monologues. This is all about the use of voice in performance. So our objectives for this lesson are to practice breathing and vocal exercises before a performance, then looking at how to effectively use volume, pace, pause, diction, pitch, tone and accent in performance, and then how to add these voice cues to your monologue script or your draft script that you've started to make. Now, before we start, it's important you know something about the use of breath because that is really important for the voice. And the voice is just like an instrument. So like any instrument, it's important to warm it up properly. But before we do our warm up, I think we need to have a bit more scientific information. So now for the science bit.
Okay, so the science or the mechanism behind breathing. Firstly, you've got to know a little bit about your respiratory system. So you start off with your trachea or your windpipe that branches off into two tubes called bronchi inside your chest, and they go into your left and your right lung. Your lungs are protected by your rib cage, a set of ribs on your left and on your right. And your rib cage is moved when you breathe by muscles called intercostal muscles. You've actually got two different types of intercostal muscle. You've got some external ones which run down the side, the exterior, and you've got some internal muscles which run down the front of your chest. Finally, you also need to know about your diaphragm, which is a really big muscle which just sits underneath your ribs. In its relaxed position, it's like a dome shape, so it's curved and it sticks upwards into your chest, and it can flatten and it can curve. So when you take a deep breath in, what you're doing is drawing in through your mouth, into your trachea and into your lungs. So to do that, you've got to make sure that you've got lots of space inside your chest to get lots of air in. And you've got to make sure the air pressure is quite low inside your chest to allow air to flow inwards. And to do that, your diaphragm and your ribs move together to create space. So your rib cage, when you breathe in, will move upwards and it'll move outwards. And you can feel it do that if you take a really big deep breath in. That movement of up and out by your ribs is controlled by your intercostal muscles. Your external ones that run down the side, they contract and they pull your ribs upwards. At the same time, that big muscle, the diaphragm, sitting underneath your ribs, that also contracts. And as it contracts, it flattens. So it actually moves to sit a little bit lower in your chest. And what your ribs and your diaphragm have done is created a lot of space inside your chest. They've increased the volume, which helps drop the air pressure and allows air to be drawn in through your mouth, trachea, and into those lungs as they inflate. If you take a breath out, what you need to do is increase the pressure inside the chest to force the air out into the atmosphere. To do that, you use your ribs and your diaphragm again. So your rib cage, when you take a breath outwards, your rib cage will come down and it'll go back in. And again, that's controlled by your intercostal muscles. Your external ones this time are relaxed, and your internal muscles in between each of those ribs at the front of your chest, they contract. And when they contract, they pull your ribs back inwards and back down. At the same time, your diaphragm, that muscle underneath your ribs, that goes from a flattened, contracted position into a nice dome shape again, so it comes back up. And between the ribs and the diaphragm, what you've now done is decreased the volume inside your chest, which creates more air pressure and helps push the air back out of your trachea and into the air. And that is the science behind breathing.
And thank you to Mrs. Blunt for the scientific information. So as you just heard, a lot of our breath and how we breathe involves muscles, a muscle called the diaphragm that's about here, and intercostal muscles at the side here. And it allows your lungs to take in more breath, and this will help with your performance. Obviously, the more breath you can hold, the easier it's going to be to project your voice and speak clearly. So we're just going to do a very basic, quick vocal warm-up, just to warm up before we use our voice, and you can do these vocal warm-ups anytime you like before you perform. So the first thing we have to do is warm up our bodies. You heard that the chest area needs to be quite soft, quite relaxed, okay? And we hold a lot of tension up there. So to get rid of that, we're going to start by shrugging our shoulders up to our ears and pushing them back down our backs again. And shrug them up again, but this time add a grin. And then push them down with a frown. And grin. And frown. Grin. And frown. And then go quick and you'll look crazy. Grin, frown, grin, frown, grin, frown. There you go. And then circle them backwards a bit. And then circle them to the front. Okay. And if you can, add your arms as well. Now for those of you that can, you can do alternate arms and have one going one way, one going the other. Okay. And if you can, stop and then go back the other way. Okay, and this just makes you nice and supple in the chest area. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is a really big stretch and yawn, and you'll find when you're doing a vocal warm-up you will often yawn naturally anyway because your body starts to take deep breaths. So we'll take a nice big stretch and a yawn. So ready, after 3, 1, 2, 3. Just flop down and come back up again and do that one more time. So 1, 2, 3. Good. So hopefully you are now feeling a bit looser in this area. So we're now going to take a deep breath. So in order to do that, we're going to breathe in for a count of 5, hold it for a count of 5, and then breathe out for a count of 5. Okay? But before we do that, we're going to do a very short breath out on the count of 3, and this just clears any kind of dirty air or dust in our lungs, so we take a nice clean breath in. So a short breath out on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and it's really useful. I'm putting my hand here so I can feel my diaphragm muscle pushing out, doing that curve as I take my deep breath, and then gradually going back in again as the breath comes out. And that is the trick on the breath out. Don't just breathe out quickly because then you're not working out this muscle, and it's really important to have a strong diaphragm. So we'll do one more deep breath like that. So quick breath out, 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. This time, on the out breath, we're just going to add a really neutral sound. So we don't have to be too loud, too soft, just a nice ah sound on the out breath. And just try and hold that as long as it feels comfortable. It's really important that when your breath starts to give out, you come off it. Don't stay on the sound. As soon as you feel like the breath's starting to catch, you don't want to hurt yourself, you don't want to hurt your vocal cords, come off straight away. Okay, so this time we'll do the same breathing technique, but on the breath out, we're going to add a nice ah sound. So short breath out, 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just come off when you're ready. We're going to do one more of those, and this time we're going to do an ooh sound, so a different mouth shape, because again it warms up our face, which is really useful when we get to the diction warm up in a moment. Okay, so short breath out, 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, just come off where it starts to feel uncomfortable. Okay, this time we're going to do a pitch warm-up. So we're going to do the same breathing exercise, but we're going to do an E sound, but we're going to go higher and lower. Think of it like a roller coaster. So when my hand goes up, we're going to go higher in our pitch, and when it goes lower, we'll go lower. So if we do an E, we'll go E. Okay, just to wake up the different pitch sounds in our voice. So short breath out in 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. This time we're going to work on volume. Okay, so we're going to play around with our dynamics of our voice, going louder and softer. So with this one, as I push away, go louder with your voice. As I pull in, go softer. And we're going to do an A sound, because again, we're waking up all the different sounds in our voice. Okay, so we'll do it with the breath again. So short breath out in 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Okay, so just playing with the dynamics there. Okay. For our next part of the vocal warm-up, we're going to start waking up our kind of diction. Now, when we talk about diction, it's about actually being able to pronounce the letters clearly and properly. So with this one, we are going to do one of my favourites first. So just repeat after me. B, D, G. B, D, G. Now do it quicker. Budiga, budiga. Okay, and I'll say it quickly 4 times. Budiga, 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 budiga. Good. This is all about watching the pace of the voice as well. We're now going to do it the opposite way around. So repeat after me again. G, D, B. G, D, B. Gudda, gudda. Okay, and then you're going to do it 4 times again quickly. So you've got guddaba, 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 guddaba. Okay, so this time, it's a bit of a tongue twister. We're going to mix it up. I'm going to get you to say 2 budigas, 2 guddabas, okay, back to back. So it should sound like this. Budiga, budiga, guddaba, guddaba, budiga, budiga, guddaba, guddaba. Okay, so have a go at doing that. Good, and don't worry if you go wrong. It takes a bit of practice sometimes to get it all right, okay? We're now going to do a few tongue twisters, and you'll see on the PowerPoint slide I've given you loads and loads of examples of these, but we'll just do a few for now. So for our first one, we're going to say a pack of pesky pixies. And the trick with tongue twisters is you move your mouth a lot, get your kind of mouth moving around the words, so you're really using clear diction. So a pack of pesky pixies, a pack of pesky pixies. And once you're happy, you can say it, you speed up. A pack of pesky pixies, a pack of pesky pixies, a pack of pesky pixies. Okay. The next one, let's try Irish wristwatch. Okay, so like a wristwatch, but an Irish one. Okay, so again, take it nice and slowly first. Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch. Okay, when you're quite happy, you can say all the sounds, speed it up. Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch, Irish wristwatch. Okay. The next one, you can do a bit of an accent with, because I find this one easier to say in an American accent. So if you want to play around with your accent, feel free on this one. And it goes unique, New York. New York is unique. You see, I can't say it in English properly. So I often do it in an American accent because I find it easier. So unique, New York is unique. Unique, New York is unique. And obviously, my accent's going, I find that one really hard to do. So have a go at doing that one as well. And the last one wakes up all the s sounds in your voice, and that goes 77 benevolent elephants. 77 benevolent elephants. And again, once you're happy, you can say it really crisp and clearly. Try speeding up your pace. 77 benevolent elephants, 77 benevolent elephants, 77 benevolent elephants. And I'm sure you know some of your own as well. So just that kind of vocal warm-up, you should be feeling nice and ready to speak. So always do that before a performance. Okay, so now you're suitably warmed up vocally. I'm going to talk about the different areas that you can start adding to your own monologue performance. So first of all, let's talk about volume. You often hear me say, I'm sure to you when I have taught you in the past, to project your voice when you're performing and speaking. Now, when we talk about vocal projection in performance, we don't just mean shouting and yelling, because you're going to hurt your vocal cords with that. The best way to describe vocal projection is it's kind of taking that deep breath like we were doing a moment ago, and then pushing your voice out. So if you imagine you're pushing it to the other end of the room. Now, this is going to be important when doing your own recordings of these monologues, because you need to make sure you can be heard. So you do need to project, but you do need to also have moments where you can be quieter or louder depending on your script. As I've explained here, a loud shout can show your frustration or anger, or equally, if you whisper, it can be really quite commanding. If you suddenly speak quieter in your voice, people have to pay more attention to hear it, so they will actually listen better. Okay, old teacher's trick there. So look through your script and find some moments where you can do that. So I've put a little bit of my script online for you here, just so you can have a look and see what I mean. So this is part of my my hamster, my hamster, the chocoholic hamster speech. So obviously, if I was going to change my script to kind of note where I'm going to go loud, say I'm going to colour it in red, I would definitely have the "ma'am" shout that my kids do being highlighted, so I know to shout that when I come to deliver it. Okay, so I now know that when I speak that, I'm definitely going to do a "mom." It's a shout that became a regular occurrence during lockdown. Mom! And obviously louder with the second one because the explanation, okay, the exclamation marks there. Okay, double, blimey. So as you can see with the rest of it, there's another one that appears there where it needs to be quite loud. So I also need to try and note somewhere where I can kind of talk a bit more quietly. So I'm thinking on this last line of the speech, I might take my volume down slightly. So for me, volume down, I'm just going to use a like blue colour, just so I can see the difference. Now, obviously, when you do this on your script, you can just write on it if you printed it out. This is just so I can show you on the screen, or you could highlight it on the page, make your own notes, okay? So if I was going to now just vocally deliver this, I would do a "Mom!" It's a shout that became a regular occurrence during lockdown. Mom! I was enjoying a relaxing afternoon having a Zoom chat with friends upstairs when Arthur and Leo's dulcet tones yelled from downstairs, "Mom, the hamster's out!" Our hamster, Harry 2.0, is quite the escape artist. We should have called him Harry Houdini, not Harry 2.0. So hopefully from that you get the idea how just changing your volume can change the effect of what you're saying. But we all know it's not just about volume. When it comes to pace and pause when you are speaking a monologue, the general rule is slow down. I can guarantee you will always start speaking in a performance more quickly than you realise. And it's very hard to slow down once you've started at that pace. I call it like a steam train. Once you've started talking really quickly like this and your speech is going on and on, it's reaching a climax, you're going to go faster and faster, and that's when you'll start falling over your words and you might have some hesitations in there and correcting yourself. So try and always start slowly. Be staying in your mind at the start of your speech. Start slow, because you can always speed up a little bit and pull it back. But if you start too fast, you've kind of lost it from the beginning, okay? And again, pace can be used to really good effect in performance. You can speed up your speech when it's getting to a climax moment, or you can kind of slow it down to emphasize certain words and sentences. Also, pauses are so important. I've put here, don't underestimate them, please don't. Having those moments of silence gives you a moment to have that communication with your audience where you might look at them, pull a certain facial expression, so that they kind of know what you're thinking. So the next step would be to add some kind of pause and pace to your script. So again, I'm going to do this with my script in mind. And again, I use colour coding. I've used the same section just because it's what you've seen already, but I have written a full one, honestly. So when I'm thinking about pace, I think when I'm talking about enjoying a relaxing afternoon, I'm going to slow down my pace on the words relaxing afternoon. And I'll do that in a nice blue colour because it's nice and relaxed colour, okay? So I'm going to show them. And when I'm doing the kids shouting up to me, "Mum, the hamster's out," I'm going to speed up a bit for that because they were quite frantic at this point, and it adds to kind of that frantic sound. In regards to pause, I'm going to add a pause here. Now for pauses, I'm just going to do a little double line like that, which will tell me to put a pause in, okay? And I might put another longer pause in up here so you can see my reaction. So if we just focus, we've done volume already, I've remembered those notes. If I now do it with the pace to give you an idea of how that works, okay? Mom! It's a shout that became a regular occurrence during lockdown. Mom! I was enjoying a relaxing afternoon, having a Zoom chat with friends upstairs when Arthur and Leo's dulcet tones yelled from downstairs, "Mom, the hamster's out!" Our hamster, Harry 2.0, is quite the escape artist. We should have called him Harry Houdini, not Harry 2.0. So hopefully from that you got an idea of how pace and pause can add to that very short section. The next thing you need to look at is your pitch and tone. So have you ever heard the phrase someone's monotone? I often refer to the singer Drake as singing in one long monotone. And that means it's not raising in pitch much, it's not lowering, it's a very kind of boring sound to the voice that doesn't really change up or down as you speak. Now, obviously, as you just heard, that isn't very entertaining for an audience to listen to. So you need to try and vary your pitch during your speech at certain moments. That way you can kind of go slightly higher when you need to, slightly lower, and it stops the monotone effect of talking like that. Okay, it makes it less robotic. When we talk about tone, we're also talking about the emotion in your voice. So obviously you can have an angry sound to your voice. You might have a kind of happy sound, an excited sound. And again, how that changes your tone. Of course, one of my favourite tones, sarcasm. Okay, so think about how vocal tones can change. And again, think about where can you add that to your speech. So I'll show you mine again and just add a couple of examples. So in regards to pitch, let's see, I have an issue with my friends upstairs. I'm going to try and come up a bit when I say up. Okay, so that I don't say upstairs, I say upstairs. Okay, and I'm going to do that in red so I know to go up. I'm going to come down a bit in pitch when I say the hamster's name. When I say Harry 2.0, I'm going to do that in my nice blue colour again. Oh, that's a horrible blue colour. I won't be able to read that one. There we go. Okay, and in regards to kind of having a different tone, I think obviously the shouty bits, I'm already using a different tone of voice for the children there to show their alarm. So I think I could also change my tone of voice on this. It's quite the escape artist, like I have been doing. I've been adding that kind of almost quizzical tone of voice. So I'm going to give that a different colour as well. And this is just to remind me, you can use any colours you like just to change it. So again, I'll read it through. Oh, that didn't work. Me and technology again. Let's try and change that. I was trying to use a nice greeny colour. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to read this now just with those changes in. Okay, just a slight bit of pitch. Mom! It's a shout that became a regular occurrence during lockdown. Mom! I was enjoying a relaxing afternoon, having a Zoom chat with friends upstairs, when Arthur and Leo's dulcet tones yelled from downstairs. Mom! The hamster's out! Our hamster, Harry 2.0, is quite the escape artist. We should have called him Harry Houdini, not Harry 2.0. Okay, and as you'll notice, because I've not added all the other notes, I'm starting to forget the odd bits where I've added them before. So I'd say at least with your script, you can have the lot. The final voice effect we're going to look at is diction and accent. Now, we've talked about diction already in those vocal warm-ups. It's all about pronouncing your words clearly, so you can hear the consonant sounds, you can hear the vowel sounds. Now, obviously, you still want to sound natural in your voice, but moving your mouth a lot when you talk will help you with your diction and make it a clearer delivery. You don't want to mumble your speech, because if you're talking like this, you're not going to hear it, and that's not going to be interesting for your audience. So try and speak really clearly. And again, you can look at your speech and pick out those really clear words that you can emphasize, okay, really emphasize your diction. Now, obviously, depending on your lockdown monologue, you might have restricted chance to do an accent, and you might not want to do an accent, but if you are impersonating someone else or impersonating a member of the family or taking on a persona of, we've been talking about doing tutorials and being like TV chefs, try and think about altering your accent slightly. Now, when I've been doing my speech, I have altered it slightly to do my kids' voices, because they don't say mom, they go mam. It's this really kind of mam sound rather than mum, and that's because we used to live in the southwest, so my eldest son in particular has the southwest accent, so he talks a bit like that. So when he says mum, he says mam, not mum, like we would say in the north. So I've altered my accent slightly there already. Okay, so I'll do one last run through for you, and I'll add a few kind of diction and accent notes. Okay, I'm going to make afternoon a word I emphasize, because it's a very nice sounding word, and I think that will add to it. So I'm still in green at the minute. So for words I'm going to emphasize with my diction, yelled is a good one as well. So you can hear the D on the end of the word, yelled. Yeah, okay. And then I'm also obviously going to note where my accent is going to alter. So obviously when I'm impersonating my children, I'm going to try and take on their voice, okay, which we've already realised is a lot louder, believe me it is. And it's also got that slight southwest sound to it, okay? Although now we've lived down here for a couple of years, not as strong, okay? So final delivery, I'll try and remember as much as I can, but obviously all my other notes are on the other slides. So, Mom! It's a shout that became a regular occurrence during lockdown. Mom! I was enjoying a relaxing afternoon, having a Zoom chat with friends upstairs when Arthur and Leo's dulcet tones yelled from downstairs, Mom, the hamster's out! Our hamster, Harry 2.0, is quite the escape artist. We should have called him Harry Houdini. Okay, so hopefully you get the idea from that, how just using your voice in a different way can make it more of an interesting delivery. So now it's your turn to go back to your script, start adding those voice cues and start practicing it. And if your script is at the draft stage, start writing that dialogue in. Okay, good luck everyone.